Hey guys, Lindsay here. Welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to do this tag video. This is the brands that excite me, top 5, bottom 5 that Samantha March created. I have a bunch of my YouTube friends who have done this video. They're really fun to watch. I really like hearing people's opinions on brands, and this is kind of a fun spin on it in terms of a brand that excites you. It's not necessarily saying that the products aren't good quality if it doesn't excite you. It's just they're not doing anything that's that exciting. I will say though, I wanted to do a little bit of my own spin on this because when I think about it, there really isn't any mainstream brands that are exciting me right now. Pretty much the brands that excite me are indie brands, which I think is perfectly great to talk about. But I don't want to talk about indie brands that don't excite me because I feel like with indie brands, you should want to try to help them grow. I'm all for giving constructive criticism, but I don't want to talk about them in a negative way like they're not exciting. So I figured my little twist could be that I'll give you my top 5 that excite me. And then for the bottom 5, instead of it being like negative bottom 5, it'll be 5 brands that just haven't caught my attention enough for me to buy from them yet. So these will be 5 indie brands that for whatever reason, and I'll give you the reasons, I haven't pulled the trigger and made a purchase yet. And this can also be a good opportunity for if you guys have actually tried any of these brands or a specific product from them, you can let me know in the comments below if it's worth it. You know, maybe I'm better off not buying from these brands. So I'll kind of give you that because it's one of those things where if a brand kind of piques your interest, but they're just not grabbing it to that full extent of you making a purchase. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of doing here. So it's not really talking negatively about them. It's just saying like, okay, I like this, but haven't quite got there yet. And then if you guys have an opinion on them either way, you can let me know and maybe help me decide if I should bother buying from them in the future. Also, I did film this look. It should already be up on my channel. This was using the Kaleidos Astro Pink palette. I will link it if it's already up, which it should be. But yeah, I did have lashes on, which I took off because we went to dinner and I put my glasses on. I don't wear lashes when I put glasses on. But yeah, I'll scoot over a little bit so that I can maybe put some pictures up and we can go ahead and go through these. Okay, so I want to start off with the top 5 indie brands that do pique my interest, that excite me, all those fun, positive things. So they're not in any kind of order. They're just in the order that I thought of them and wrote them down. So I'm not rating them by any means. So the first one we'll talk about is Menagerie Cosmetics. I absolutely love Menagerie Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, and I love their liquid lipstick formula. I have liked their products since they were Makeup Monsters before. So I have their previous eyeshadow palette under that name, and I had a bunch of their liquid lipsticks. I actually had been purchasing from them for years just as their liquid lipsticks. Now they're called Menagerie Cosmetics. I need to repurchase a lot of liquid lipsticks from them or just buy some more. But I love their eyeshadow formula. It is probably one of my favorite eyeshadow formulas. I absolutely love it. It's that ultra pigmented type of matte shadow. You know, sometimes that can be a little tricky to work with if you're kind of a beginner to really pigmented shadows, but I just love how vibrant and pigmented they are. And then the shimmers are usually so gorgeous and like in your face. I have every palette they've come out with so far. I do have the Whale Song palette on pre-order, so I'm really excited to get that one in. And like I said, I need to order more liquid lipsticks because I really do like the formula. It's very comfortable. And the one that I've repurchased since they became Menagerie is this really gorgeous shade. You guys have seen me wear it a couple times. It's called Aptasia. It's so beautiful. I love it. So yeah, they are definitely a brand that excites me just because I already know I like their formula. So it's like it doesn't matter what type of color scheme they come out with, I'm gonna want to buy it. And I do love like the artwork that they have on their palettes. It's beautiful. You know, it's always very animal themed now that it's the Menagerie Cosmetics because they have a portion of their proceeds, I believe, like at the end of the year go to like an animal charity or animal rescue or something like that. But the artwork they put on their palettes is beautiful. I know that they just finished designing like a Z palette, like an empty palette for their singles. So I really kind of want to get that. I haven't bought any of the singles yet just because I own so many of the palettes, but I do know that they have some single shadows that aren't in palettes. So maybe the next time I make an order, I'll get a couple lipsticks and some shadows. Not that I need any more makeup right now, but. So the second brand that I want to mention is Besame. I absolutely love Besame. Now, I don't own everything from Besame. It's not quite like the same thing with Menagerie. There are things that I don't own from them. A lot of their stuff is very retro themed. So they have a lot of lipsticks, and I don't really wear many lipsticks in my daily life. I think I own 2 full-size lipsticks, and then I own the mini lipsticks, and both of those were themed collections, and that is why I love Besame. They do have a really cool vibe with the whole retro aspect, but they've got this really good relationship with Disney, and they have done three technically different Disney collabs now at this point, and I've loved all three of them. It started with their Snow White collection. That one was insane. I do have most of the pieces from that collection. I have the Storybook, it sits back here. The actual beautiful Storybook that they recreated palette. I have that. I have one of the two palettes that they came out with afterwards. I have one of the Snow White lipsticks, and I have the little mini Seven Dwarfs lipstick set. Love, love, oh, and I have the makeup bag. I love the makeup bag. But I absolutely love it. They also did like a mermaid Peter Pan themed one, have the palette and the bronzer and some, oh, and the perfume sits back there. I have some pieces from that. And then I also obviously bought the Infinity Stones collection that they did for Marvel. That one was lip glosses and eyeshadows. I bought both of those. Absolutely love it. I love their eyeshadow formula. Their shimmers, especially the metallics, are that really kind of buttery, creamy, super intense one swipe type of pigmented look. And their mattes are really soft, so it's more of an easy to blend. I think their mattes are really easy to work with, especially if you're not into insane pigment. Not saying that they're not pigmented, but they are usually lighter colors, so they're very buildable. They're very beautiful. And the one thing that I think is really cool with like the Disney classic type of collabs that they've had is with both of those, because they were based on classic Disney movies, their eyeshadow palettes and other colors in their collections were actually based off of the Pantone colors from the movie. They actually go and get like cells, they work with Disney on it. And I think that's really cool. If you're a Disney fan and you're like a collector, or you just want to have a part of something like that, then these pieces are really amazing to have. I absolutely love that aspect. And I really, really hope that they have more Disney themed collabs in the future, because I mean, I would buy a palette for any of the old classic Disney movies. I'm really wanting to see something for Sleeping Beauty, because I think that opens the door for them to make another Storybook style palette, and that Snow White one is insanely gorgeous. So if they ever made a Sleeping Beauty Storybook palette, they would have my money in a heartbeat. Next up on the list is Alien Cosmetics. I really enjoy Alien Cosmetics eyeshadow formulas, so I have all of their palettes that they've released so far. I have not pre-ordered the most recent one that's going to be coming out. It's like kind of like a pinky toned palette. I think it's Forever something, I forget. The colors just don't really appeal to me that much for me to want to get it. I personally, my favorite palette from Alien Cosmetics is the Unearthly palette. I'll put that picture up here. I love that one because it's got a lot of really gorgeous orange tones, and orange is one of my favorite colors for eyeshadows to work with. So again, just like with the previous two, with Menagerie and with Besame, the metallic formula in the Alien Cosmetics palettes is insanely buttery. It's that kind of just creamy feeling when you touch it with your finger. One swipe and you've got insane pigment across your lid. I absolutely love their shimmer formula. Their metallic formula is really good too. It's kind of, it's not quite as insanely pigmented as somebody like Menagerie, but it does have a really good amount of pigment to it. They're very easy to blend. I love the tones in them. I kind of wish they would do more palettes like the Unearthly one. I don't necessarily need it to be that size, but they've been doing a lot of the 9pan palettes lately, which I'm fine with. Their Pluto palette, the first one, was like that, but the more recent ones that they've been doing have like 3 mattes, 3 shimmers, and 3 glitters, or some variation of glitters and shimmers. And quite frankly, while I don't mind working with pressed glitters, it's not my favorite formula in the world, and it's not something that I'm really going to gravitate to that often. I very rarely use a pressed glitter in my daily life. And, you know, pretty much a lot of times if I'm just using it in a look for you guys, it's more of like an accent. That's the way I choose to use a pressed glitter. So I don't really like that they keep having so many in every single palette. I wish they would maybe just narrow it down to like maybe 1 pressed glitter in the palette as just a fun little accent, and have the rest be mattes and shimmers, because literally, I'm telling you, their metallic shimmer formula, it's great. I love it. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what else they come out with. Oh, also their lashes. I love the Alien Cosmetics lashes. Their Space Queen lashes is by far one of my favorite styles of lashes. And I did recently purchase their Earthling lashes, which I like. And then right now, I don't know if it's still happening by the time this video goes up, but when this video, I filmed it over the weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and they were having like a 50% off lash sale, or buy one, get one. I can't remember what it was, but I bought like 2 pairs of lashes because I really do enjoy their lash style. They're very comfortable and easy to put on. And of course they usually have like a fun flare to them. And you guys have probably noticed I tend to kind of gravitate towards the flared out type of lash. But yeah, so definitely love their lashes, but of course their palettes, their shimmers, and Unearthly is number one. Next up, we have one of my all-time favorite indie brands. This is the indie brand that basically kicked off my channel, and that is Storybook Cosmetics. Unfortunately, they've kind of been in a bit of like a lull lately because they had so many issues last year with, I think they just blew up. They grew way too quickly to be able to like balance everything and manage everything. So they at least kind of realized, okay, we need to take a step back, get everything under control before we start rolling out new product. And I can respect that. I think that's a very smart move because you don't want to pop up the next new release and not be ready to fulfill those orders yet, because I feel like that's kind of the position Bombshell Cosmetica keeps putting themselves in by like putting way too much out before they're ready to fulfill it, and then they have customer service issues. So I'm glad Storybook Cosmetics has kind of taken a step back and they're hopefully regrouping to get everything out soon. I can't wait to start seeing new product from them. I know that the book club that they do is going to be like a quarterly type of subscription, which I'm totally okay with. And I know the next theme is Sherlock, so I'm really excited to see that. The thing I love about Storybook Cosmetics, obviously in the name, Storybook, they're all about just that like fun fantasy themed kind of stuff. Okay, so you know that already has my heart from the beginning. And of course, the first thing they ever created was the Harry Potter wand brushes, so obviously that started the love connection that I had. I pretty much own everything that they have put out. I have wand brushes, rose brushes. I have 2 sets of wand brushes. I have every palette they've ever put out, including the first book club palette. I think the only thing I don't have is like a different color variation of some of the brush sets, but everything else I own. I own all the liquid lipsticks. I literally love everything. Their shadow formula is, it's kind of, I would maybe compare it to like the Alien Cosmetics one as far as the mattes being pigmented, but not like the Menagerie in your face pigment. It's more of a very workable pigment, very easy to build and very easy to blend. Their metallics aren't quite as in your face. I kind of prefer their metallics used with a wet brush to really get that oomph, which to me that's kind of more in line with like a lot of the mainstream brands. With those, I usually prefer to use metallics with a wet brush. I'll maybe like put it on my finger first and then go back with a wet brush. And I feel like the Storybook formula needs that in my opinion, but I love it. I still think it's great. I just love the themes that they come out with for their products. They've got a Mean Girls palette, a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory palette. Some of the things that they have planned for the future are things like a Van Gogh, like Starry Night type of palette, which I think will be beautiful. I hope it's filled with gorgeous like blues and yellows and just very vibrant colors. So they are definitely one of my favorites, even though they've kind of taken a little break. I know that they're still, you know, being creative, they're still working on stuff and they're planning on coming back, and I definitely will still be a huge supporter when they do come back. So they definitely stay on my top 5. I'm always excited anytime they announce something new. So can't wait for them to finally come back with a bang and just start cranking out really awesome product again. And last but not least on this list, kind of a controversial topic to most people, but we're not talking about the person here, we're talking about just the brand, and that's Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't own everything from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and I'm not gonna even try to get into the person behind it. But as far as a brand as a whole, it does excite me. Anytime he teases a new release, I always want to see what it is. Anytime he's got a new release video, I am always watching it. Now, that doesn't always mean that I end up buying everything. I did buy Blue Blood, and I'm probably, depending on what it looks like, gonna buy maybe something from the summer collection. But like, I haven't bought the concealers or the powders. I never bought the Alien palette. I didn't buy Androgyny, and I ended up giving away Beauty Killer because I never really used it. But things like Thirsty, Blood Sugar, and the Blue Blood palettes, I've loved all of those. I think the formulas are really good. I like just the kind of creativity behind some of the color stories that he puts together. I really, really love it. So yeah, it is definitely an indie brand that excites me because it always piques my interest. Doesn't mean I necessarily seal the deal and buy every single thing that he comes out with, but it is always very exciting and very interesting to see what he's going to come out with next. I'm actually kind of interested in the lip glosses that I believe they're teasing to come out at the end of the month. I may buy one of those. I don't know. I have a few of the liquid lipsticks and I do love them a lot. So we'll see kind of what colors they come out with for lip glosses. But yeah, it definitely is a brand that excites me, even if I don't buy everything. Okay, before we jump into like the quote unquote bottom 5, I did want to do like a couple of honorable mentions. I'm not going to go into great detail about them, but it was kind of hard to narrow down only 5 of my top 5 indie brands. So I did want to give an honorable mention to some brands that do pique my interest with all of their new releases. I'm pretty much always planning on buying some, if not all, from the new releases of these brands. And that would be Collective Cosmetics. Obviously, you guys know I pretty much live on their highlighters, but if they come out with another palette again, I know in a heartbeat I'm going to buy it. Peachy Green is another one. I love her fun palettes. Obviously, she just did the 90s baby palette, which I'm still so in love with. It's so fun and vibrant. So I can't wait to see what she comes out with next. She's had some really fun themes in the past. Of course, we had the Clueless palette. She's had the Kush Queen palette, Pumpkin Spice. So I'm really interested to see what kind of themes she does in the future because she seems to like doing fun themes and I'm here for that. Another one obviously is Bombshell Cosmetica. I obviously mentioned having the customer service issues, so I'm hoping that they will really kind of learn and grow even more, but I like the fun direction in these like candy palettes and the fun malt themed palette. And I think coming up is some kind of unicorn smoke something, I don't know. I'm curious to see what it looks like and I'm probably gonna buy something from it. And then lastly is Glam Light. So I really had never purchased from Glam Light until recently with the burger palette, but I did buy it and I loved it. I didn't get the taco palette. It really didn't kind of speak to me, but I did buy both of the lip products that came out with it. So again, this kind of goes back to like the Jeffree Star type of thing. I like it. I'm pretty much interested to see anything that she comes out with next. I'm very curious about it. I may or may not buy it, but it definitely excites me. So, okay, so now let's move into the bottom 5. Again, like I said, I am not in any way like speaking negatively of these brands. I just want to kind of give you some reasons why I haven't pulled the trigger and bought from any of these brands yet. And then what I would really love is if you guys have bought from these brands and you recommend them or recommend a certain product, let me know in the comments below. Maybe help me decide if I should go ahead and make a purchase. And these are going to kind of range, I believe. These may not all be 100% indie. I really am not sure, but this is what I've got. So first up is Melt. I don't know if Melt is considered indie, but I feel like they at least started that way. So Melt is one of those brands that's always kind of piqued my interest. I loved those little stacks. I thought they were really cool. I remember watching a video from Katie, who used to go by Luster Lux. It was one of the first videos I saw from her, and I think she was using some really beautiful peachy tones from one of the Melt stacks, and that was kind of like my first introduction to that brand. Obviously the Gemini palette kind of piqued my interest. I really kind of wanted it. The reason I've really never pulled the trigger with that brand is because it's just so expensive. It's not like I haven't spent a lot on a palette before or on items before, but it's just something about them where it's not grabbing my attention enough to justify me spending the money. And things like the Gemini palette, when it came back around for a second time, I literally almost bought it. I'm pretty sure I put it in my cart and then I was just like, no, I can't do it. And then with Kaleidos, they came out with their Futurism collection and their green palette is very similar, at least for some of the tones that I was interested in. So I bought that gladly because I got 3 different palettes, probably for close to the price that I would have paid for that Melt palette. So, I just don't know if I was going to buy from them, if I would go with a palette or a stack or something else, but I just don't know that it's worth the money. So if you guys have purchased from them, let me know if you think it's just as good as better than some of these previous brands that I've mentioned that I really like. Another one that I haven't purchased from yet because of price is Linda Hallberg. I have been interested in that brand for so long. I've actually been following Linda Hallberg without really knowing who she was, just through Pinterest, because I would always pin these gorgeous makeup looks and I would recognize her, but I didn't know who she was. I had no idea who she was. And then I think when I did finally come across some videos, it was before she was posting English videos, but still it was fun to watch. But again, I really had no idea who she was. I just knew that it was beautiful, incredible makeup that she did, and I just always was completely mesmerized by it. So obviously now that I've gotten further into YouTube and I watch a lot of channels and I watch a lot of channels that use her products, first thing I was really curious in buying was those mood crayons. I have wanted some of those for so long, but again, I just can't justify the price. And it seems like everybody that uses them says that they're phenomenal. I mean, I kind of go with my cheapy ColourPop pencils and I'm really happy with them, but I feel like everybody talks about them being really pigmented and creamy and worth the money. It's hard for me to justify buying pencils when I have pretty much the exact same colors from ColourPop. So most recently she came out with her newest palette, which I'm already blanking on, Spectrum palette, I believe is what it's called. It actually seems beautiful to me. First off, that cover art is incredible. It's stunning. And just looking at those shadows, they look so beautiful. Now, I don't know that I would use those shadows often enough to justify the price. We go back to that whole price thing. And I know that she likes to do the bigger pans so that you can kind of use a palette in a multi-use type of manner, like for blushes and stuff like that, which is really cool. I'm fine with that. But I just don't know that I need that much of those colored shadows. And again, it's kind of pricey. And I've seen a couple of videos on it now, and some people really, really love it. And some people are just kind of like, oh, it was all right. And I don't want to pay that much money for just all right. So I'm kind of still just holding off for like that perfect product that comes out that kind of finally makes me want to buy it. Next up, we have Pinky Rose. Now, I watch a lot of channels that have used the Pinky Rose palettes, and they seem to rave about them. So as far as I can tell, the formula seems to be pretty good. And I don't know what it is that's kind of kept me from purchasing from them. Honestly, I kind of feel like they have so many palettes that it just overwhelms me. Because I believe, didn't they release like the 4-piece bundle? I can't remember if they did or not, or maybe it was 3-piece. But I feel like they keep releasing so many palettes, and they have so many palettes out there that I just don't even know where to start. Because some of these palettes, when I look at them, I know that it's colors I already have in my collection. I don't feel like they're that expensive, but it's just something that keeps me from finally saying yes. And I really do think it comes down to just being so overwhelmed and not knowing which palette to even start with, you know, if I actually need any of them. But everybody seems to really love them. So, I mean, I don't know. I need to try them. I know I do. I just can't quite decide where to start. Similar to that, we have Ace Beauté, or however you say their name. So I have technically tried one Ace Beauté product, but it came in a BoxyCharm, so I really don't count that as me buying from them. And I will say that when I tried that palette, it was kind of like it reminded me of like the Urban Decay Heat kind of color scheme. And I remember a lot of the shadows kind of turning a different color than when it looked in the pan, and kind of being a little bit too similar. And it wasn't the best palette in the world. Like, it was decent formula, but as far as the colors being true to what they looked like, it was a bit of a disappointment. And I think that's part of the reason where I've been hesitant to buy from them, because I don't know what their other palettes are like. I mean, obviously brands tend to improve over time. So whenever that one was first created, maybe ones that they're doing right now are better. They do have that new palette. It's like the Oceanic palette or whatever. That one is kind of piquing my interest, but because I've just purchased the Whale Song palette, I really don't know that I need it. I don't feel like they're completely identical dupes for each other. I do feel like some of the shadow colors are probably going to overlap in some way, shape, or form. I don't think the formula will, because I highly doubt that Ace Beauté's formula is anything like Menagerie's formula after the one palette that I have technically tried, because it's not that pigmented. It's just a nice formula, but it's not like the in-your-face Menagerie type of pigment. So yeah, that palette piques my interest, but I just don't know if it's worth it. So that would definitely be one that I would love y'all's opinion on, because again, just like with Pinky Rose, I feel like they have a lot of palettes out there that I don't really even know where I would start. It just kind of gets a little bit overwhelming, and I'm just like, I haven't bought from them yet. Should I even start at this point? So yeah, I don't know. You guys definitely give me your opinions. And last but not least, for the like bottom 5 is Brew Cosmetics. I don't know that they're an indie brand. I don't think they're an indie brand, but I definitely just would love to hear you guys' opinion on them. I've never tried anything from them, but I've seen these like magazine looking type of palettes before, and they had like a mermaid one, and they had one that looked like a fantasy novel or something, or it was like a manga. That's what it was. I don't know. The themes are definitely trying to grab me with some of these products, but I just don't know if it's like a really cheap kind of product, you know? Is it going to even be worth me buying it? Is the shadow even going to be something I would want to use? So I don't know that they're technically considered an indie brand, but if you guys have used them, they're definitely one that I'm very curious to know, because it seems like their stuff's really affordable. But is it affordable in a bad way, or is it affordable in a good way? So if you guys have tried anything from them, especially the eyeshadow palettes, like the big ones, please let me know. So that's really it. I've given you guys a top 5, a runner-up little section, and then a bottom 5, or at least like an untried 5. Maybe that's what we should call it, the untried 5. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the little spin on it. If you're really curious to know who my bottom 5 of mainstream brands would be, it's gonna sound exactly like everybody else's. Too Faced, Tarte, Morphe, Kat Von D, and Benefit. I'm pretty sure those are probably the same exact 5 you've heard in many other videos, and that's just because the products are great, or at least great for the most part, but they're not exciting. So yeah. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.